It's almost Valentine's Day, that special time of year when you start to think of making dinners for two. And do I have the dessert? Actually, you can make it for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. But in this case, I'm going to make it for two. Caramelized baked pears with that special ending chestnut puree, creme de marron. It's a French thing, of course. And you have to really order it online unless you happen to have a grocer that stocks it. It's worth it. You can make it without, but it's worth it. So let's get started. I'm Charlotte Narbonne, and this is Travels Around My Kitchen. Delighted to be here with you and to tell you about this recipe. I've been preparing these pears since I first saw this recipe in Gourmet magazine. In fact, I won't embarrass myself by telling you how many years ago it is. And yes, I have altered it. In their recipe, they used a marron glacé, which is a glazed chestnut, which appears in Europe, Italy, and France particularly in the fall when chestnuts come, fall from the trees. And then of course, I won't get into it all of you, but they end up being sweet and delicious, and it's a short season. But then people package those chestnuts that have been cooked and pureed and such, and sweetened and added a little vanilla, and they make it into a chestnut spread. Think of it as if it's so good that once you open a jar and you store it in the refrigerator for several weeks at least, covered of course, that it's like Nutella or peanut butter. You can sneak into the refrigerator at midnight, take a spoon and dip in and have a spoonful of chestnut spread or creme de marron. It's that good. And it's going to top our dessert today. Now, it's pear season because pear season is generally in the winter. And you can use any good baking pear. I'm going to walk you through the steps. It can be made ahead. That's another one of those special things and important parts of cooking today for so many of us. These are 2 Bosc pears. They're ripe. They're always picked unripe. So more than likely, by the time you get to the grocery store, they're still going to be hard. And you're thinking, oh dear, what am I going to do? Well, you put them in a brown paper bag, close it, and wait for them to ripen. It's like avocados. You do that. It takes a while sometimes. It does. So if you could find them ripened at the grocery, great, buy them. If not, you'll ripen them with the brown paper bag technique. So you're going to peel them, which I've done, and core them. You take the center out, and then you cut off a small slice on the underside. That's just so that they'll sit properly and won't tilt over in the pan that they're using for baking. That's it, right? So you take your pears, you peeled them and cored them and halved them. You put them in your baking dish, and then you take a tablespoon of sugar, generous of course, and put them on top of each pear. You take a tablespoon of butter, generous of course, and put it on top of each pear. And that's it. Put them in the oven. You preheat your oven to 375 degrees, and then you put them in the oven. After about 10 minutes, the butter will start to melt, and as will the sugar. So at that time, pour in cream. What else? I mean, we're not talking low calorie here. So you just pour in your cream. And I always err on the side of more is better. Not less is more, more is better. Anyway, you pour it in, depending on how many creams. Remember, this recipe can be made with 2 pears, 1 pear, 4 pears, 8 pears. You can even do it for a crowd, really, when you think about it. It's just a matter of making sure that you have at least a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of sugar for each pear half. And then you add your cream after about 10 minutes of baking. Bake them like that. Don't have to do anything to them until the pears are fork tender. Remove them. Remove the pan from the oven. Remove with a slotted spoon the pear halves. You can put them in their serving dish already, or just in a bowl that you can keep in the refrigerator or a platter. And then you take the liquid that is left, and in this case, it looks like this. And I have, if it's not this color, this wonderful caramel color, then you put it in a saucepan on top of the stove and you cook it down gently. You don't want to burn it and you don't want to boil it all the way. So you put it in there and stir it. You can always add more cream, remember? That's the beauty of cooking without a recipe, add more cream. So you add more cream and you get it into that nice color, and that's it. The recipe is done. Store in the refrigerator, covered, until you're ready to serve. And then you get out your pretty, this is pretty crystal, and you put one on. You can also do this in a big platter, and if you're having a lot of people for dessert or at dinner and it's dessert time, and you want to make a presentation with a bigger, you know, kind of for everybody. See, I put that in there. And then I'm going to pour my sauce over. Oh dear. Does that not look good? The diet can start the 15th. And then for your last thing, you're going to take a bit of, this is the chestnut spread. I'm going to put that on top. Boom, done. That's it. That is caramelized baked pears with chestnut spread, or with creme de menthe, as they call it. Nothing could be simpler, and it does taste very good. Easy to do. I hope you enjoy it. This is Charlotte Narbonne, and this has been Traveling Around My Kitchen.